What is up? Thank God iPod is live. I'm your host, Chaz Pivot. I'm the founder of Baseball Rebellion and Softball Rebellion. And tonight I am riding solo. Unfortunately, I do have one announcement. Will Hoyle, my former co-host, he opens up with Duke very, very soon, and he wanted to make sure that he focused on getting ready to play. So he's going to take a hiatus for now. And Eric Tyler, my COO, is going to be my co-host most of the time. But tonight, I'm going to go solo because I've got a really special guest that I'm excited to talk to. But just so you know, on Thank God iPod, we talk about everything related to baseball and softball. From current events, hitting, pitching, game approach, throwing, arm care, weight training, you name it, we cover it. And I'm so excited to be joined by my old college roommate at NC State, Phil Davidson. Phil was a 2001 Rhode Island Gatorade State Player of the Year. He was a two-time All-State selection in volleyball and baseball. So the guy had some hops. He finished NC State 4th in career appearances, 9th in innings pitched, and 10th in career strikeouts. Afterwards, he played 2 years in the minors with the Royals. But first, before Phil joins us, my opening rant is about preparation. With college baseball and softball starting now, the preparation that athletes have done or not done is it actually can be twisted in such a way that the most prepared athletes feel pressure and the least prepared athletes can feel something a little bit different. So I want to dive into that really quick. So what I want you to understand is I was talking to an athlete very recently. Ryan Mountcastle just came up, and I was talking to him about how he feels about the season. And it was very clear to me that he had no doubt that he was totally prepared. From a body perspective, a swing perspective, movements perspective, he just felt great. And you could tell in his face that he knew that he was going to do amazing. Recently, I was talking to some of my college athletes, and a little bit of doubt was creeping into some of their faces, self-doubt, okay? And when I think about doubt, I think about a nervousness. I think about how prepared you are. And for example, I never feel nervous when I go into a lesson or when somebody calls the phone here at Baseball Rebellion to ask a question about hitting. I don't feel nervous because I feel completely prepared. I feel in my element teaching and in my element talking about teaching. And I want my athletes to understand that the preparation they've done, it works. And so instead of turning that preparation into pressure and letting that crush them like, oh my gosh, I've done all this work. I've spent all this money. I've spent all this time. I have to do well. And feeling that anxiousness and fear. Instead, they should feel calm. They should know that no matter what girl's in that circle or what pitcher's on that mound, you as the hitter have been preparing for this moment. And you've been preparing at a higher level than that pitcher has. And that's the confidence you have to have going into your season. And instead of that, sometimes I also feel other players who maybe they're unprepared and they have some real doubt. And I would say this, you should have some nervous doubt if you didn't prepare in such a way that gets you ready to play. But if you're consistently putting that drop in the bucket every day, that bucket's going to fill up. And your body will take over because you've learned exactly the movements that matter that are going to make you hit or throw or whatever it is you've been preparing for. And if that work works, you just got to let it work. And when I talk to this one athlete in particular, I could really see on their face initially a little bit of anxiousness, a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of fear about, I don't know what coach is going to do here, or I don't know if I'm going to play, or what if I don't do as well as I should. And I really just had to look at them right in the face and say, you are ready. You are completely ready. You've been a great hitter for months in my cage. And there's nothing that gives me any doubt that you are as prepared as you've ever been, the most prepared you've ever been, and should be ecstatic about the season starting because you are going to unleash that swing on these pitchers. And I could see their face kind of like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. Because they hadn't really thought of it that way. They were looking at the preparation as pressure on them to succeed. And again, this is really, really common. And I just want you to really think about it. If you're an athlete or you're a parent and you're listening to this and you're thinking about how much your son or daughter has prepared, and if they're nervous about their game, try to make sure that they believe in what they've been doing. Make sure that they understand, like, if their coaches are good and the work that they've been doing is good, they're going to have already seen the pitching they're going to see. They're ready for these locations. They're ready for these situations. And no matter what is required, they're going to come through. And that's how I feel about my college athletes. And I know that's how Eric feels about his pro guys. So we just had to leave today to head down to early camp. And that's what I want to try to give to you guys and make sure that you understand that you can control these emotions by being logical and thoughtful about what that preparation should mean and how you can make sure that your preparation doesn't crush you with pressure and that it gives you the calmness and the confidence to execute what you know. The opening rant tonight was brought to you by HitTrax. HitTrax is the #1 indoor ball tracking technology anywhere. We have 5 HitTrax machines here at Baseball Rebellion, and we track every single baseball or softball hit in every lesson. HitTrax has a great interface. It's super easy to use. It's got a great one-pager that you can show the difference between this lesson and 2 before, 3 before, whatever you want to compare. And you can also see trends over time. It gives consistent data. And if you're a facility owner or a college program, HitTrax is a great addition to your cages because it's going to illuminate many things about how your players hit and where they hit the ball that you just cannot see with the naked eye. All right, guys. Well, I'm super excited to actually get Phil in here now. I'm going to bring him in here in just a second. Phil, what is up, brother? Thanks for joining us on my pod, man.
Of course, man. Good to talk to you.
Yes, absolutely. So let me jump right in. We played with each other at NC State, and I use the term "played with each other" very loosely because I practiced near you and I watched you play. I didn't play at NC State. You know, I ended up transferring. Initially played basketball at Asheville, and then I ended up playing baseball there as well. How'd you even end up at NC State from Rhode Island? Like, I don't even understand that journey.
So it was much different back then. You know, we're dinosaurs before the internet, before, you know, YouTube videos, recruiting videos. I got really lucky because actually the manager of the Minnesota Twins now, Rocco Baldelli, was a year ahead of me. He went to Bishop Hendricken High School in Warwick. And I went to Tollgate High School, who was the rival in Warwick. So I got lucky to play against him a bunch in high school and summer. So when the scouts would come to see him, you know, they'd say, well, who's this, 6'3", 165-pound kid throwing, 88, 89 miles an hour? Pass him along. I ended up getting invited to Team 1 down in Clemson, which, if you remember back in the day, there was, Team 1 had the 4 national showcases, 4 regional ones, then the 1 national. They were really the only, summer showcase circuit.
Yeah, it was the only game in town.
Yeah, other than that, coaches had to go to Legion games, had to go to, tournaments and watch kids. Team 1 was really the first one to have all the players in one place. So Rocco had gone down the year before in 99. Then in the summer of 2000, when he was leaving, he gave my name and another kid from Rhode Island, Chris Ionetta, who had a pretty decent career.
Yeah.
It worked out all right for him. He had put our names on the list as the, other players in the area. So they followed up with the Major League Scouts, and that's how we got invited down there. So I went from getting recruited by like Franklin Pierce. The only Division I up here that was on was Boston College, and that was kind of just sniffing around, nothing real serious.
Sure.
Went down to Team 1, hit 91 3 or 4 times, and all of a sudden get back to my hotel room, and the hotel mailbox was full. And
yeah,
it was Clemson, it was NC State, it was South Carolina, Vanderbilt. We was like, what the heck? Never thought that was possible.
Hey, you throw that 9 up on that radar gun back then, that's a big
back then,
deal.
Yeah, that was might as well be 100 today. It was
right.
It was one of those deals where, my whole goal in high school was to play college baseball. I didn't know where. Sure. I want to play Division I. I figured if I went down south, it was going to end up being like an Eckerd or a Flagler, one of the Florida Division II schools. Then all of a sudden, I have SEC and ACC schools, blowing me up, and I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy."
Yeah.
Took my visits, ended up choosing, came down to NC State, and it was probably worked out perfectly. It was Phillip Rivers' first football game. So the place was going nuts. That was my recruiting trip weekend. The atmosphere was electric at the football game, and fell in love with it. So
yeah. No, that's great. I mean, and it's easy to fall in love with a place like NC State. I mean, I loved my time there. I mean, we had a ton of fun being roommates with our piranhas and the goat and the
It's a
snake
damn
we
zoo.
had, all that ridiculous stuff, right? But we had
man.
a ton of fun there. And it turns out when you go to a school like that, I mean, you're really playing with some guys that can really, really play. And for a lot of guys, and I'll speak for myself, that's the first time I really looked around. I was like, whoa, these dudes are good. Like, I wasn't prepared. I didn't realize how big the baseball world actually was when you get to a school like that. And you remember me, I was skinny and I never lifted weights before, didn't know what I was doing. You never really put on a ton of weight, but you were obviously much more ready to play. So what do you think gave you that readiness mentally? Because I was talking about like preparation, right? In my opening rant.
One thing did
that mental readiness to go in there and play as a true freshman.
So growing up in Rhode Island, I played Legion baseball from 8th grade on through high school. At Team 1, there was a guy by the name of Joe Renner, who's now the pitching coach at Marshall University. He was the pitching coach for the Midland Redskins at the time. Summer team out in Ohio, extremely elite summer team. Hundreds and hundreds of major leaguers have gone through there and played there.
Sure.
Got a phone call from him. He said, we want you to come out to Ohio this summer and play. I was like, well, what? Like, I'm going to college next year. Didn't really think about it. Same thing, went out and visited and realized it was probably the best thing for me in terms of getting prepared for, the ACC and for Division I baseball. So when I played for the summer, there's a couple things. One, being away from home, learn to fend on your own, get your own, do your laundry, get your food. And I, and just being around players. Like Eric Patterson was our shortstop. I think we had Scott Lewis was one of our pitchers. He was a major leaguer. But being around kids who were serious about the game for the first time. It wasn't Legion baseball where, I'm working a landscaping job all day and then going to the field at night trying to pitch. Right. It was strictly about baseball. And just, a higher level of coaching, higher level of competition, traveling around playing the East Cobs, going to the Connie Mack World Series. That got me ready for college. So I went into college, having seen pretty high level of competition.
Sure.
There was still, nothing's going to prepare you for Khalil Green and that Clemson lineup that first year they were. They were just absolutely stupid. So, but it definitely got me ready for it more so than had I stayed in Rhode Island. And something against Rhode Island baseball, it's great, but it's just a different level. So definitely
for sure. And it's like playing Power 5 versus mid-major like I ended up. I mean, I remember being at UNC Asheville, and we won 26 games one of my years. And I remember being at NC State my freshman year. We didn't make the regionals, and it was like
and they were calling for Elliott's neck.
Yeah, it was like dead silence. It was like, man, I don't know what's going on because these guys expect to win, whereas like we're celebrating not even being 500 at this other school I was at. And nothing against it. It's just, when you play a bunch of Power 5s in the midweek, like you ain't winning those games. And I know we didn't very often.
That was the one thing we figured out at NC State too was, when Billy Jones came in, he changed a lot of the mentality and the attitude. And one of the things he always harped on was winning the midweek games. So I think for 2 years at NC State, we didn't lose a midweek. And that, that's a difference between 34, 35 wins and 40 or 42 wins, which, 40 you're an automatic tournament team. 35, you're holding your breath, come selection day.
Yeah, I remember one of my first games at NC State. We were hosting Elon, and we were down your freshman year, my freshman year. You were down pretty significantly, and
Kyle Stevenson started. I still remember. I could tell you every game. I have a stupid memory like that.
That's amazing. Well, I just remember that guys weren't like super worried about it, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what are we doing? Like, I know I'm from North Carolina. I never even heard of Elon. You know what I mean? Like, that wasn't even on my radar, and I was like, what is happening? The next thing I know, like, bang, 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 and then we win, and it's just like, geez, these guys.
Having Brian right in the middle lineup helped a little bit.
Dude, I'll tell you what. You want to talk about a guy that could hit. That guy could hit. And
I was laughing. I saw a video of a guy in the major leagues. Now, he was the most intimidating hitter I ever faced at any level. I told him this probably beginning of summer. I randomly connected with him, just had about an hour-long phone conversation with him, reconnected. And I was like, B, I got to tell you, you're the most intimidating hitter I ever faced. And it was just the way he would stay in the box in between pitches, wouldn't get out. Oh. And all of a sudden on the mound, you're like, wait a second, I got to go. And it just completely messed with your mentality, controlled the flow of the game. He was incredible.
He was amazing. And he was such a cool dude too. Like I remember.
Great teammate. Unbelievable.
he helped me a ton in the cage. And you remember me, I was always in the cage in the weight room because I was looking around like I'm not good. I need to get good now or I'm never going to play.
That's one thing. One thing before you keep going, Chad. I got to shut you down here quick. You talk about, being behind a little bit coming in, which you were. First of all, if you were in New England, you would have been a top recruit because you were the epitome of a New England kid. You were an athlete that played baseball. You weren't a baseball player yet.
Right.
In New England, when I was at University of Rhode Island, we made a living off recruiting kids like you. Bring in the great athletes, teach them how to play baseball, coach them up. Might take them a year or two to get there, but they're going to get there.
Right. So,
you're just a victim of being in the wrong region of the country. Because if you were in New England, I'll tell you what, I think you would have had a different experience college baseball wise.
For sure. And I would agree with that. And, finding the right fit is something I talk to my athletes a lot about. Right. And so I wish that I knew a little more and I had a little bit more information going into my decision because I did have quite a few offers because people could see, I was fast and I was athletic and I have 40-inch vertical. And I had things that seemed like they would project and they just, I wasn't very good. It just didn't count.
You wore me out in the inter squads in the fall. I remember that. Absolutely wore me out.
Well, I did get a few fastballs off you a few times. And I did get a few, and I remember that. And I do appreciate the fastballs because the college programs hadn't quite figured out that I couldn't hit a changeup to save my life yet, which is all I saw for the rest of my career.
I didn't have one, so you were safe.
Yeah. Fastball slider guys, I was all right. If you threw me the first changeup, I'm halfway to first base swinging, yelling good pitch at you.
Yeah.
And that was the end of me. So. But I appreciate you saying that. And it's funny, the other day we were going back and forth on Twitter. You were kind of involved a little bit. These guys coming at me. And, the bottom line is this, like, I'm very proud of the work that I've done and the business that I've created and the hitters that I've worked with. But, there's a difference between being a big leaguer and still being able to help big leaguers. They're not mutually exclusive. You don't have to have one to have the other. And I know everybody listening to this who doesn't agree with me. Of course he says that because he didn't play in the big leagues. Yeah, I didn't play in the big leagues. But I'm certain with the amount of different athletes that I've worked with and my business has helped, I'm certain that we've been a positive impact on the guys that are at that level.
Well, and there's a couple different things that go into coaching. Number one, from the first time I met you at NC State, it's clear to tell that you're a passionate, high energy, intense dude. You care about what you do, which as a coach, the coaches that care about the kids they work with, they care about their clients. It doesn't matter. As long as you care about them and they know you care, you're going to make an impact on them. So the whole having to be a big leaguer thing, I wasn't a big leaguer. I was a minor league scrub roster filler who, took the ball whenever, a money guy couldn't pitch or they wanted to rest him. So, I was just filling in. Did I have the stuff to make it to the major leagues? No. But can I help people? Yeah. I've been lucky enough to have, coach kids along the way. I have two kids. I've two former players that are in the major leagues right now. I think we had 16 guys in the minor leagues, all out of Rhode Island, which, did I have anything to do with it? No, I didn't have the magic sauce to get them there. But I think you create a passion in them, create a curiosity, kind of cultivate it. And that's going to keep them coming back, keep them curious about the game of baseball, working at the game of baseball. That's what your job as a coach is.
You're exactly right.
If there was a coach that had a magic sauce to say, oh, boom, you're going to throw 98 right now. Well, shoot, nobody ever need to work. Nobody ever need to do anything. Everybody beat that guy.
You're right.
I'll tell you right now, probably the best coach I know about in Rhode Island, my best friend, kid Chris Ursillo, who started our summer program with me, never played college baseball. But this kid knows everything about the game of baseball. Every time I coached, he was always in the dugout next to me because I trusted him more than I trusted myself.
Yeah.
And he saw things the same way I did, for the most part. Now he might see other things and, point them out to me. And I always trusted him because I believed in him. When I was in Pro Bowl, I'd call him. Hey, I feel this. And he'd say, oh, well, you're probably doing this. Not even having to see video, not having to see, pictures. He just knew what was going on.
Sure.
And, the communication methods, that's the biggest thing. If somebody trusts you, I used to tell kids all the time, if they believe in what you're teaching, it doesn't matter, because you're going to give them that confidence, which is what you're talking about, the preparation, confidence, believe in yourself. it may not be right, right per se, but if they believe it, they're going to go up to the plate with confidence. They're going to have a better chance to hit the ball, to do their job on the mound. If they believe in it, some of the best pitchers I ever had some of the worst stuff, but they believed they were better than you. They believed they're going to get you out, and they did.
Yeah, that reminds me of Vern Sterry. I don't know how that guy got everybody out. I mean, I don't think he ever lost a college game. And I remember in the fall with Vern, and I'm thinking about, he was never a standout or anything, and then he somehow became a weekend guy, and the next thing you know, he's 12-0, 10-0, whatever he did. I mean, that guy was unbelievable.
Because he just believed, he went out there and he knew he was better than you, and it didn't matter. I mean,
even when he wasn't.
He threw 86, 88 with a plus change.
Yeah.
And he was dicing people,
He was amazing. He was amazing. And that's the thing, like you're talking about confidence, right? And that trust you're talking about when your players is earned, Oh,
you can't fake it.
And when I was talking to the athlete that I mentioned briefly in my rant, I could see that, probably 30 seconds into what I was saying to them, they just were like, oh yeah, I remember. You're right. I could see it in their face. Like this, the weight of the world came off their shoulders, because I know how bad some of these athletes want to be good. I remember how bad I wanted to be good when I was at NC State, and what I was willing to do it. And, that meant everything to me at the time. And I know that's how these athletes feel now. And now, I don't feel the same way as I used to, because, now I've got kids, I get married, I got a business, I have real obligations and real pressure. That isn't like, hey, I hope I get to hit this game.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying?
You used to think pressure was having to go out and have a good game. Now it's like, all right, pressure's got to, earn a paycheck and come home and feed the family.
No, you're exactly right.
It changes.
And I mentioned my kids. You've got 2 kids, right? So you were coaching, you were doing lessons, you've been college coach, and then you're now coaching your oldest son, Landon, who's 13. And how has coaching your own son been different than coaching somebody else?
So it's changed a lot. So when he was 8, 9, 10, I helped coach as an assistant coach. I was never the head coach. I don't want to, I try to offer whatever I can, whatever, advice and wisdom I have accumulated over the years. Then when he was 11, 12, I stepped back. Just wanted him to enjoy it.
Right.
I mean, it was more fun to, be outside and watch him interact with people, how he interacts with his teammates. Want to see it organically. When I'm in the dugout, things are going to be different. The way he talks to kids is going to be different. He's always kind of looking over his shoulder. Want him to have fun and be a kid.
Right.
So, back at it this year. So it'll be fun. It definitely is different. I don't even really coach him when I coach. I don't talk to him during a game. I don't.
What do you go through the other coaches if you see something, or you just let it happen?
I let the other coaches handle him. Yep. We talk about it, and I just, for him, I don't want to see dad coming at him saying something. I'm lucky he's coach right now, really understands him. He's a kid who really thrives. If you give him a little bit of positive reinforcement, he's going to go through a wall for you. I think one of the biggest things is, my biggest strength as a coach is understanding the psyche of kids. Which kid needs a kick in the butt, which kid needs to be, positively reinforced. That's the biggest thing with coaching for me, was knowing the kids you're working with. So his coach now understands him, understands how his mind works, and he'll just, give him a couple compliments early in the game and then step back and kind of let him do his thing.
And that's one of the great things about doing lessons, is you work with so many different kinds of kids. We work with kids of all different socioeconomic backgrounds, different types of parents, married, divorced, whatever. It's all over the place.
Oh yeah.
And you have to be able to get through to that 7-year-old that walks in and is learning the basics, and then you got a 55-year-old men's league guy, and then you got a Division I softball commit, and then you got a pro guy later, and you got to be able to talk to all those different players,
put on all the different hats.
You're exactly right. And that becomes, because all of them have different goals. I want to make my Little League All-Star team. Last year, I was, I played 2 innings and got 1 at bat. I'd like to be able to play a whole game. That's a real goal for some kids. Or I'm sure I make the middle school team just so I can be on the bus with my buddies.
That's it. And I'll tell you, it always goes back to something that I learned at NC State working the baseball camps for Elliott. He'd have his staff meeting at the beginning of the camp every year, and One of the things he said to us, he'd always use the example, listen, especially with the younger kids, if little Johnny can go home and play catch in the backyard with his dad after leaving this camp, you've created a memory for this kid and his father for their life.
Yep.
Not only that, but the dad's going to see the value in this camp, and this kid's going to be, coming back every summer for the rest of his life. So, I think you try to find that one positive thing you can do, whether it's a lesson, clinic, practice, game. Try to find, one positive thing for every kid. Now, it doesn't mean calling it out every single day at the end of practice, but definitely harping on and finding the positives. You have to be a lot more positive with the younger kids than you do, the high school kids, high school, college, pro guys. You can be a little bit more pragmatic with the older guys.
For sure. So, you got to tell them the truth or you lose them immediately. Nobody comes in my cage to get told how great they are when they're 23 years old and trying to make the show, or they're 17 and they're trying to get a scholarship. One of my girls just got her first Division I offer today, and she walked in the building. The first thing she said, "Chaz, guess what?" And she couldn't wait to tell me, and that just meant so much to me because I've known her for 4 or 5 years now.
Those are the special ones, the ones you have from the time they're 10, 11, 12, and you see them get up through college now. It's like, all right, it's really gratifying, as a coach.
Right.
I always take more pride in that than I did anything I did as a player.
For sure.
Which is the coolest thing.
The way that the players look at you and the way their parents appreciate you. And like, I remember I had a really good relationship with this college coach, and the college coach actually allowed me to tell the player that they were going to get a scholarship. This was years ago. And the dad broke down tears right there in my office and sobbing. And he was like, I just didn't know how I was going to send my daughter to college. And now I can't. And that's a real thing. Like, you want to talk about return on investment, I mean, they spent, $6,000 with me, but they got 60,000 out of it. And while that doesn't happen for everyone, it was really, really, really special to be involved in that. Now, you've got another son. You've got another son as well. Yep. And, Carter is autistic nonverbal, right?
Yes.
You told me that last night. I did not even know that. I didn't know. And, how do you communicate with him? How do you deal with him? What have you learned, was it one as a dad and two as a coach from, his unique way that he experiences the world?
So a couple things. Number one, when Landon was younger, it was easy. Landon, go put your pajamas on. Landon, let's get ready for bed. Time to take him tub. With Carter, it's a little bit different. You can tell him, but he hears what you're saying, he understands, but he can't tell you anything back. He can't tell you. I mean, for instance, last week he had dental surgery, oral surgery, and his behavior was terrible for a while, and we couldn't understand why. Well, his teeth were hurting him. He had cavities, needed to get, he had toothaches, but he couldn't tell us that. So one of the things you do as a parent is you learn to be a lot more observant, and I hate to use the term helicopter parent, but you almost have to be. You have to be able to understand his body language is different. When you have a baby and what their cries mean, they're hungry, the diaper, whatever.
Sure.
You definitely have, that's why routine's so important for him. Any change in routine, kind of it's an alert for you where something has changed, something's going on, and you got to give him immediate attention. But it's really just changes the dynamic as a parent. You have to be a lot more, you have to see things more from their angle rather than trying to get them to yours, if that makes sense.
Of course. So,
you have to kind of get inside their head and see things from their eyes instead of, trying to just, being able to dictate to them. But
right. Well, that's fascinating. So, like, how have you done that? Because I'll be honest, I don't know how I would do that, because both my sons, they speak and they run around and they're the same. And I just don't know how I would find a way to communicate, even though in my defense, I guess I've communicated with people when I didn't speak their language, like they're from Japan and they've hired me, or other countries have hired me, and I'm talking in English when I'm breaking down their video, but I have to draw out what I want them to do with the telestrator and then show other clips and different things like that. So I know that's not the same, but you talk about figure that out.
You talk about drawing it out. He has a tablet that he uses where it has a word program on it. And he'll walk over and he'll just say, boom, 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 like, I want to eat. Oh, you're hungry. Okay. So
Wow.
it's crazy, man. It's like a robot where he can tell you, like, I want to run. Well, let's run. I want to play blocks. Cool, get the blocks. We'll do it. So
Huh.
he can communicate that to us. He just can't verbalize it. It's one of those things where, he was in a specialized school where they specialize in the treatment of autism.
Yeah.
And working with autistic children. They did a phenomenal job with Boston Behavioral Learning Centers. I'll tell you what, you want to talk about people doing God's work. His staff there was phenomenal. But it's funny because in a lot of ways, they have to coach us up. So having been a coach for so long, they're telling us how to handle things and how to do things. So it was cool, kind of switching roles and having somebody try to inform me on something, teach me how to do something. Experience is a huge benefactor for us. So they were able to really give us a lot of helpful advice at home. We're just day by day, you see growth in him, little things.
Sure. How old is he now?
He turned 6 in a month on March 4th.
Cool.
So
how was it? It's weird to think about taking coaching in parenting, right? And I know when I'm a coach and you were a coach, we ask our players to run towards things that are difficult, and we ask them to be, malleable. We ask them to be intelligent. We ask them to be thoughtful. And how was it for you taking instruction on something that you probably were completely unprepared for? And how did you feel like as a dad trying to learn how to deal with one son when you already had a son that you knew what to do with?
So you really just have to readjust your goals, readjust, all your expectations. And really it's probably what you should do as a parent anyway with each kid.
Right.
Start with a clean slate and say, all right, find out what's important to them, what they need, and my older son Landon he's an absolute saint. He's a phenomenal big brother. He understands, that sometimes, obviously Carter requires a little bit more attention, a little bit more,
Sure.
More of our time. But he's phenomenal. He understands, extremely empathetic child. We're blessed, with both of them.
Does he, nothing to do with the personality side, does he have your arm talent? Is he, how's he doing on the radar gun?
Landon?
Yeah.
To be honest, he only pitches a little bit. I didn't, for me, I got pigeonholed as a pitcher probably when I was really a freshman in high school.
Right.
And I felt like I didn't really learn the game of baseball until my probably junior, senior year at NC State when Tony Guzzo came in, because we'd sit there in the dugout and he would actually explain things to me. I'd be like, why'd we hit and run right there? Oh, well, because of this. And, he actually taught me the game. So I wanted Landon to learn the game, and kind of see it from different aspects. So he catches, he plays third base, first base, outfield, he pitches.
So you weren't tying his right arm behind his back and making him a lefty like some crazy dad, right?
No, I wish he was lefty though.
There's the crazy dad. There's the crazy baseball dad.
Come on, Chad. I want a beach house, man. But no, it's, to be honest, right now. So he plays hockey as well, and hockey takes up most of the time.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. Youth sports have changed a ton, where they want you to specialize. They want you doing everything year round. Hockey goes from August till April, August to March.
Right.
But it's cool to see him, compete in a different sport too. Hockey's more physical, more, emotional.
Sure.
And he does phenomenal with it. He's great. So yeah, I just love watching him play, whether it's baseball, hockey, tiddlywinks, whatever. It's fun to watch him be around other kids. You learn a lot about somebody watching them play sports.
Oh yeah.
See what kind of teammate they are, which is the biggest thing for me is I want to be a good teammate. I don't care how good he is, how bad he is. I just want him to, be a good teammate and be coachable. So it's pretty cool to see in hockey, especially because hockey, there's a lot more defensive teammates, things like that goes on, especially now when they're starting to hit it at his age. So,
oh yeah,
it's insane, but it's pretty cool. It's fun to watch.
Skating around on those knives. I don't know how you do that. You told me the other day that Carter actually swims. So what is that like? That's not like a competitive situation, right?
No, it's almost a therapeutic thing, kind of a sensory deal. But he's drawn to water. Well, water, and one of the things we realize is, he needs to be trained to swim. Understand how just a
Yeah,
safety issue. I mean,
sure.
obviously all children should be, but I mean, he loves water, loves jumping in water. Or say, you know what, he's got to learn how to swim.
Yep.
So twice a week we're taking him. He was doing swimming lessons, doing really just they place Goldfish up here. He kind of specialized in teaching children to swim. Um, and then he ended up going to the place Angelfish, which specializes in teaching autistic children. And it's just, phenomenal for him. He loves it. In the water, you just see his demeanor completely change, and he just, he's just at ease,
Finding something that your kids love is such a unique experience as a father, right? And I know you
Absolutely.
know it. It's such a unique experience to see them find that comfort and that sense of belonging, that sense of self-worth and self-belief, and just that true joy and happiness. And I think that's why I like what I do so much for my job, as I get to
Absolutely.
experience that with other people over and over and over again. And it's not the same as your kid. I'm not trying to say that it is, but watching these dads and moms experience it, the experience you're creating for their son or daughter, and how appreciative they are and how thankful they are, and how giving they are with their emotions to you. That's something that I absolutely love.
I mean, I think one of the coolest things is seeing kids, who come in and maybe haven't had the success they've wanted, whether it's high school, middle school, wherever.
Sure.
And then working with them, and really, I mean, I think right now there's a lot of, especially on the pitching side of things, there's a lot of these programs out there, whether it's Driveline, whatever, where it's training effort, it's, working out nonstop. Well, guess what? Kids in the Northeast have only really worked out once a week in the off season, perennially, maybe twice.
Sure.
Well, now you're on a full training program, full, physical program, physical strength program. You're going to see results. Now, is it the program or is it the work the kid's putting in? And it's one of the things I always would try to, communicate with the kids and the parents is that, the work they're putting in is what's going to be, the difference maker. If they want to put the work in, let them put the work in. One thing I used to get in trouble for at the facility all the time was, I wasn't the owner of the facility. I just ran it. I always had a hard time with a high school kid coming in who wanted to get extra work. Telling them, you got to give me $35 for the cage. Just go ahead. It would always get me in trouble. But, I mean, think about it, man. At NC State, we had the facilities where we could hit whenever we wanted, where it's important. You need to do that. So it was cool. I've never turned a kid away that wanted to work. If a kid couldn't have the money to do it, we have them clean the facility at the end of the night, have them work the front desk, work a clinic with us, work a camp. But it's kind of cultivating that, like we said, that love for the game. With my son when he's with me, it's we'll be sitting around on a Saturday afternoon. Dad, they have open ice at the rink? Can I go skate? All right, let's go. Take him down to the rink to go play public hockey or whatever. And it's, if he wants to do it, I'm not going to tell him no.
Sure.
And it's whatever it might be. It's, if he has a passion for it, if he wants to do it, if he's enthusiastic about it, I'm going to let him do it.
And that's the thing about baseball rebellion and softball rebellion. If you're in lessons here, you can use the cages whenever you want for free. So as long as there's an open cage, you can come in. I'll bet you last year alone, we probably did like $250,000 for the free cage rentals for my members. But that's what I want them to do. I want them to be in here working. I want them to cultivate that environment and build that culture within the business to where, a 9-year-old comes in and they see these 17-year-olds getting after it by themselves, in a cage, feeding each other on the machine or doing the rack turns or whatever it is they're doing to try to get better, feeding each other grounders, it doesn't matter. I want them to see that and be like, okay, that's what it takes.
So
it takes what it takes. That's what it takes.
One of the coolest things we did at the last facility we started up was, we were lucky. Where the first year we had 11 Division I commits on our team in Rhode Island for the summer program that we started up in high school. Prior to that, it was only Legion baseball. There was no travel, no select, no showcase baseball.
Sure.
We played Legion. That was it. Obviously, playing from Midland in Ohio opened my eyes to a lot of things. So there was a different baseball world out there other than just American Legion. So we wanted to give the kids from Rhode Island that experience. I knew there were a lot of kids who were talented that never got seen. And we were lucky because we kind of created that atmosphere of the best players in the state coming to the facility every day after school. Started off with 3 or 4 of them, then it grew and grew. By the time we were done, like every night during the winter, you'd have, 15 to 20 of the best, say 20 of the best 30 high school players in the state in one place working together.
That's awesome.
And it creates an atmosphere where you're going to work harder when you're with kids who are at your level or above your level.
Oh, yeah.
And they bring along a couple sophomores with them who are going to work harder. And all of a sudden you have a senior from Bishop Hendricken driving a sophomore from South Kingston home after they work out. And, now sophomores' confidence is through the roof. And all of a sudden you're building a community and building a program.
How'd you deal with the different high school coaches? Were they supportive of what you were doing, or was there some negativity?
So I got to tell you, part of the reason why the Twitter stuff never bothers me is because Rhode Island baseball is like Twitter in real life. Everybody hates everybody. Everybody's smarter than everybody. This guy's an idiot. This guy. So I'm used to it. Majority of the high school coaches were on board. We were always respectful too, though.
Sure.
We'd work with them through the winter. Once the season started, if you were a pitcher, you're not coming in to throw with me. Like, I'm not going to have you come throw a bullpen after you throw a bullpen at practice. And
that doesn't work. The pitching side, really, you got to be careful.
And I always tried to communicate with the coaches and say, here's what we worked on in the winter. And I'd give them a report and say, here's what we did. Take with it, do it what you want. You know what we worked on, what he's capable of. Boom. Then we'd reconvene, in May, June, when this high school season was over, and get to it for the summer and fall. But for the most part, I'd say really there were only 1 or 2 high school coaches that had an issue with it.
Sure.
But it's one of those things where, as you realize, it takes a village. There's no one person that's going to have an impact on your baseball career. There's going to be 5 or 6, and then probably 5 or 6 you don't know about. Right. That's the craziest part is, I made more calls for kids that didn't play in our program, that didn't work with me. When a coach or scout would ask about him, you're not going to badmouth a kid, but if I saw a kid who didn't play for us who was exceptional,
oh yeah,
okay, I have no problem making a call.
Sure.
There's a program up here, Providence Sports and Leadership. Guy Bill Flaherty does a phenomenal job. It's for inner city kids from Providence. It's a nonprofit, doesn't cost the kids anything to play. Just providing opportunities. They've got a kid who's on the verge of the big leagues right now, Jeremy Pina with the Astros. He's gonna probably replace Correa when he leaves. Kid's phenomenal. But I'd have no problem making calls for his kids all the time because I know, number one, you can help them, and you all work together. The good summer coaches work together, saying, all right, I got a guy, you're going to this tournament, take my guy with you if you can.
Sure.
Without trying to steal him next year, which that's the worst part about, it's really morphed into something way more than it should for high school summer baseball.
Well, but that's the kind of the way the facility business has gone too, right? I mean, there are some guys who do what I do. They're facility guys, or they do hitting lessons or whatever. They're really not good at what they do. They're really not, and their players don't get better, and they don't measure anything. They don't reinvest back in their business and their equipment and stuff. Yeah, that's out there, But when you're talking about people, like you, like me, and like some of the guys on the Instagram and stuff that we see that really are getting results and are getting people to the next level and are giving back in ways, that people don't really realize, I just think that it can be done better, and it doesn't have to be so aggressive and mean and angry, Yeah.
Right. I laugh because Chaz, we've known each other long enough, and I can talk trash to the best of them. I can bust balls with the best of them.
Sure.
When it comes down to it. The Twitter stuff I just laugh at because, number one, there's plenty of ways to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
Working pitching. Yeah, I had a personal philosophy that worked for me. I was a 6'4", 175, 185 pound sinker ball slider guy. Yeah. When I coached a kid who was that built like me, threw like me, it was easy.
Yeah.
But I also had left-handed pitchers who were, 3-quarter guys. I had righties who were strictly over the top, 5'8" guys.
Yeah. I mean, you try to tell Joey Devine to throw like you did. The guy's nobody. He had to do it his way.
No. And I think you might find little things to tweak with a kid. But yeah, you have an overall philosophy that you're going to stick to. My stuff was more mental than physical. let a kid's body work the way it works. And I also, this is 5-6 years ago, before so much of the biomechanical stuff really was even looked at.
Right.
It's completely changed in the last 5 years.
Yep.
So yeah, there are ways to improve biomechanically, improve with your movements. I know you're pushing the turn stuff now, which is great. I read some of the stuff and it was awesome.
Thank you.
I just, it's different. If you look at it, shoot, those guys used to also go out and drink beers every night. And, it was a different life. Now kids are showing up to the ballpark with protein shakes and they get their recovery stuff, and it's all changed. What we know has changed. And it took me a while to come around to it too. There's a lot of me that hates a lot of the new age baseball stuff, new age pitching stuff, especially because I don't think it's designed for 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. I think it's designed for fully developed, fully mature major leaguers who are peak condition with peak nutrition, the access to, training facilities that the general public doesn't have access to.
Correct.
So I think that's why you're seeing a huge spike in arm injuries with, some of the, 14 to 17-year-old age group. They're throwing a lot harder. Shoot, I threw 91 in Rhode Island. I was probably one of maybe 2 guys that was hitting 90 my senior year.
Right.
Now there's probably 8, 9 guys. But
yeah, even on the hitting side, like, they keep making the bats worse and the hitters keep hitting it harder. I don't really understand how they're doing it. I remember, 10 years ago, I remember when my first guy hit 100 miles an hour, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. And now, if you're a junior in my program and you haven't hit a ball 100 miles an hour, like, you're probably just not very good.
Yeah.
And
something's missing.
It's pretty wild.
No, it's crazy. The talent level and the raw skills have gotten so much better of the top tier kids. The difference is that middle kid isn't as committed to baseball as they used to be. So what you have on a high school team now is you have 4 or 5 kids who are totally committed, going to play at the next level.
Yep.
And then you get 9 or 10 kids who are there for, social activity.
You got nothing else to do.
So it's changed. That's changed in regards, but it definitely, I think there needs to be a middle ground between the mentality and the approach to the game and the physical development stuff.
You're right. I definitely agree. Well, Phil, man, it was so great to catch up, buddy. Like, it was awesome to have you come on, and I know you read my book and you said some really nice things about it. I really, really appreciate it. I wish you nothing but the best. And, if there's ever anything I can do,
likewise,
your boys on the hitting side, man, let me know. Like, I don't think I can help them on the throwing side too much, me personally, but if they need a little bump and some exit velo, call Uncle Chaz. I'll take care.
Shoot, I'll tell you what, man. I'd send him down so he can learn some work ethic, because I'll tell you, I was saying this the other day. I've never seen anybody that worked harder than you did. Once you kind of initially got to state and assess where you were at, realize that, I've said this many times to people, that nobody's really changed their body, changed their physical demeanor as much as you had.
Yeah.
It was really incredible to see. You took pride in it. You became obsessive about it. And, it was awesome. To be honest, I wish you could have stuck around at state a little bit longer.
I wish I did. I don't have regrets there, but I was getting to a point physically, honestly, where, like, I just think I was going to be too physical for them now to be like, well, we got to figure out if this shit works. That guy. Yeah. I got to a point where it was, I was strong, and I had no fat, and I was fast, and
you were torn up, man. You were,
but
just fast twitch, man. I'll tell you what, the 2 kids that freshman class we were saying the other day were you and Ryan Devlin were the 2 that really, made a mark on us on how to work and how to, commit to something. And never seen 2 kids work hard. And it's, ironic that you both are, coach at a high level now. Obviously Devlin, is an assistant basketball coach for GW.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Both you guys are basketball guys, but, just the work ethic, the demeanor, gratitude for, things around. It's just a lot of that stuff is, it's ingrained in you. And I'm sure you're passing along to your players there, and they'll appreciate it later on for sure.
Well, I try to. I can promise you that. I need to rekindle that work ethic in the weight room myself.
You and me both.
I'm gaining a little bad weight now, but I don't have a 6-pack. I got a full keg now, but it is what it is. I'll be 40 this year, so I'm still gonna dunk on my birthday. So make sure you see it.
I got to see that, man. I check it every year to make sure you're still doing it. Keep up with it.
You know it. Well, Phil, I really appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming on. And Thank God I Pod is every Wednesday night at 9:30 Eastern. We stream live. We're going to be very soon have this on Apple iTunes for you, and you're going to be seeing some stuff on TikTok as well very, very soon. Phil, thanks again for coming in, and I'll catch you on the flip side, brother.
Anytime, brother.
Thanks again.
All right, man.